Number 5. The Disappearance of Brian Schaeffer. Brian Schaeffer was a medical student at The Ohio State University. On the night of March 31st, 2006, he went out with friends to celebrate the beginning of spring break. Later, he was separated from them, and they assumed he had gone home. However, a security camera near the entrance to a bar recorded him briefly talking to two women just before 2 a.m. on April 1st, and then apparently re-entering the bar. He has not been seen or heard from since. Schaeffer's disappearance has been particularly puzzling to investigators, since there was no other publicly accessible entrance to the bar at that time. Columbus police has several theories as to what happened. Some interest and suspicion has been directed at a friend of Schaeffer's, who had accompanied him that night but has declined to take lie detector tests related to the incident. While foul play has been suspected, including the possible involvement of the purported smiley-faced serial killer, it has also been speculated that he might be alive and living somewhere else. Number 4. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. The Dyatlov Pass Incident refers to the mysterious unsolved deaths of 9 ski hikers in the northern Ural Mountains on February 2, 1959. The experienced trekking group, who were all from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, had established a camp on the slopes of Kalatsiako when disaster struck. During the night, something made them tear their way out of their tents from the inside and flee the campsite inadequately dressed in heavy snowfall and sub-zero temperatures. Soviet investigators determined that 6 victims died from hypothermia, while others showed signs of physical trauma. One victim had a fractured skull, while another had brain damage but without any sign of distress to their skull. Additionally, a female team member had her tongue removed. The investigation concluded that an unknown compelling force had caused the deaths. Access to the region was consequently closed to amateur hikers and expeditions for 3 years after the incident. As the events remain uncertain due to the lack of survivors, several explanations have been put forward as to the cause. They include an animal attack, hypothermia, an avalanche, infrasound-induced panic, military involvement, or a combination of explanations. Number 3. The Death of Elisa Lam. The body of Elisa Lam, a Canadian student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, was recovered from a water tank atop the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles on February 19, 2013. She had been reported missing at the beginning of the month. Maintenance workers at the hotel discovered the body when investigating guest complaints of problems with the water supply. Her disappearance had been widely reported. Interest had increased 5 days prior to her body's discovery when the Los Angeles Police Department released video of the last time she was known to have been seen, on the day of her disappearance, by an elevator security camera. In the footage, Lam is seen exiting and re-entering the elevator, talking and gesturing in the hallway outside, and sometimes seems to hide within the elevator, which itself appears to be malfunctioning. The video went viral on the internet, with many viewers reporting that they found it unsettling. Explanations range from claims of paranormal involvement to the bipolar disorder from which Lam suffered. It has also been argued that the video was altered prior to release. The circumstances of Lam's death, when she was found, also raised questions, especially in light of the Cecil's history in relation to other notable deaths and murders. Her body was naked, with most of her clothes and personal effects floating in the water near her. It took the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office 4 months, after repeated delays, to release the autopsy report, which reports no evidence of physical trauma and states that the case of death was accidental. Interestingly enough, the circumstances of Lam's death have been compared to plot elements in the 2005 horror film Dark Water. In the film, a mother and daughter move into a rundown apartment building. A dysfunctional elevator and discolored water gushing from the building's faucets eventually lead them to the building's rooftop water tank, where they discovered the body of a young girl who had been reported missing from the building a year earlier. Number 2. The Disappearance of Ashley Freeman and Loria Bible. On the night of December 29, 1999, Danny and Kathy Freeman celebrated their daughter Ashley's 16th birthday. Ashley's best friend, Loria Bible, was also present at their mobile home in Veneta, Oklahoma. Ashley's boyfriend, Jeremy Hurst, was also present, but left at around 9:30 p.m. Sometime during the night or early morning hours of December 30th, a fire erupted inside of the Freeman's home. A concerned neighbor called the fire department at 5:30 a.m., and Loria's parents and the police immediately canvassed the home for signs of the Freeman family and Loria Bible. Kathy Freeman was found dead, but her husband Danny Freeman's body and the two girls' bodies were nowhere to be found. Police theorized that Danny Freeman killed his wife Kathy and abducted his daughter Ashley and her friend Loria. However, his remains were found a day later. The husband and wife had been shot in the head prior to the fire. Ashley and Loria weren't among Danny Freeman's remains, nor were they anywhere in the vicinity. Loria's purse was left behind with $200 inside, which suggested that the girls might have been abducted, but robbery was ruled out as a motive since the cash was left behind. There were no suspects in the case, but before his death, Danny told his brother Dwayne Vansell that should anything happen to him, to look to the Craig County Sheriff's Department. Danny's son, Shane, had been shot and killed by a deputy after he stole a truck, and Danny was planning to file a wrongful death lawsuit against the department just before the tragic fire. The deputies volunteered to remove themselves from the investigation and turn the matter over to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. The cooperative deputies passed polygraph tests that proved their innocence. Many theories were given as to the missing girls' whereabouts. One theory speculated that Danny Freeman was a small-time drug trafficker and had met with two unidentified men 2 weeks before the murder, but that theory never fit with the girls' disappearance. Others believed Ashley Freeman killed her parents because of friction between her and her father, but the authorities believed that the girls couldn't have hidden out for long, if that theory was to be believed. No trace of Loria Bible or Ashley Freeman has ever been found. There is a $50,000 reward offered for any information in the case. Number 1. The Disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. Perhaps one of the most well-known and well-publicized mysterious disappearances is that of 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley, who disappeared without a trace aboard the Royal Caribbean International cruise ship, Rhapsody of the Seas, while it was on a trip from Puerto Rico to the island of Curacao. On March 24, 1998, Amy left her room for a cigarette. Her family would never see her again. Several witnesses came forward and claimed to have seen Amy shortly after she left her cabin with a bass player named Alistair Douglas, who was in the ship's band Blue Orchid. It was claimed that after meeting up with him in the early morning hours, Amy was seen going off with Douglas to another area of the ship, and the bass player returned 10 minutes later alone. Nevertheless, authorities could find no evidence to directly link Douglas to the disappearance, and he was not detained or considered a suspect. Over the years, the case has become steeped in mystery and intrigue, and spurred a wide variety of speculation and theories. It was suggested at the time that she may have run away, or even committed suicide by jumping over the ship's railing. It was also suggested that she may have gotten caught up in some kind of illegal activity, or had witnessed a crime and was silenced. Adding to the mystery of the case are the various rather unsettling alleged sightings of Amy that have popped up from time to time since her bizarre disappearance. In 1998, 2 Canadian tourists claimed to have seen Amy walking along a beach in Curacao, flanked by 2 men. When she allegedly tried to approach them, the 2 men grabbed her and guided her into a nearby cafe. The couple was able to describe very distinctive tattoos that Amy was known to have. These details, which the eyewitnesses could not have possibly otherwise known, have led many to believe that the sighting was authentic. Amy was allegedly sighted yet again in 2005, in a department store in Bridgetown, Barbados, under equally disturbing circumstances. On this occasion, an eyewitness reported that she had been in a restroom stall when she overheard some men come into the women's restroom and threaten a woman in another stall. After a few minutes, the eyewitness cautiously exited the stall and found a very distraught and panicked-looking woman hunched over the restroom sink. She told her that she was from Virginia and that her name was Amy. Moments later, the men returned and practically dragged the woman from the restroom. The eyewitness would later provide the FBI with a description of the two men, which were made into a sketch and circulated, but to no avail. More ominous evidence comes in the form of online photos that were found in 2004 and 2005 on a prostitution website of a mostly naked woman in sexually suggestive poses who highly resembled Amy and seemed to suggest that she had been sold into sexual slavery. Another witness report from 1999 further bolstered this possibility. In this sighting, an American sailor claimed that he had gone to a brothel in Curacao, and while he was there, a woman had approached him and introduced herself as Amy Bradley and pleaded for him to help her. The sailor claimed that two men then forcibly escorted the distressed woman upstairs, after which he decided it was best to be on his way. Embarrassed and fearing that he would get in trouble for visiting a brothel, the sailor kept the story under wraps until he heard of the missing Amy Bradley and decided to come forward with his sighting. But by that time, the brothel had burnt down in a fire under mysterious circumstances. This dark possibility that Amy had been entangled in the dark web of sexual slavery would not be too far-fetched, as the Caribbean has become rather notorious for human trafficking. The mystery of Amy Bradley's disappearance remains largely just as impenetrable and baffling now as it was when she first vanished.